Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Rules and Ordinance Committee to order. And if the first item on the agenda, I believe, is going to be the Youth Council. Do we have members here? Director Barry? Oh, hello, welcome. Nice to see you all. I'll have to introduce myself at the end of the meeting. So I did talk to Director Barry today to get a little history on the change in your amendment here. So would you like to come forward? Who would like to come forward and speak to this? And if you could just, your name and your address? Do you want to turn the mic on?
I think it's on now.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
Cassandra Ock, 15911 Lake Avenue.
Great, thank you. And if you could speak to what precipitated this change in the ordinance for us.
Sure. Over this past year, I've kind of taken over as the chair of the Lakewood Youth Council from my predecessor. And we've kind of started looking at this over this past year of wanting to kind of like revamp and kind of reestablish what the council does as a whole. And since we've been a fully functioning council for 4 years now, we thought it would be appropriate to kind of reevaluate some of the, actions we've done and make sure that our amendments and bylaws are relevant to such.
That's great, wonderful. So if you'd like to speak to the changes in this regarding the meetings and attendance, I believe, is the primary reason for the change.
Yes. So with all of us being students, there's 15 members on the council, all varying from the grades of 8th to their senior year of high school. We've kind of taken a step back to look at our attendance as far as people present versus not, and we've kind of noticed that as school gets busy, it's really hard to get to meetings. So I don't know if you would like specifics as to where the changes are. I don't really know.
Yes, you could review the major ones. I did review them myself, but if you want to review them for the rest of the committee and those in the public who are listening.
Sure. In Article 2, membership, Section 4, which is known as vacancies, Subclause A reads as vacancies will occur when a council member, 1, resigns, 2, relocates out of Lakewood, 3, no longer meets the criteria under which they were appointed. And then we've amended a 4th, reading misses multiple meetings over a short period of time. We went to further explanation of a total of 2 unexcused absences consecutively, but we did add that excused absences will be dealt on a case-by-case basis.
Great, thank you. Any questions so far from the committee? And then I noticed you changed also when you're going to be having your elections.
Yes. So typically with the council, we re-elect leadership at the beginning of each season. However, we found this problematic over this past year of our entire leadership council was primarily seniors who were leaving for college this past year, so we had to re-elect an entire board of new leadership. So we decided to push it back a little bit to the end of our prior season, to where they have the entire recess of our council to prepare for the upcoming season. So we will have new officers shall be inaugurated and invested as such with their duties, and the last meeting in June, which for us would be on June 8th.
Great. And then could you cover the removal from leadership as well?
Sure. This hasn't really been a huge concern for our leadership. However, just in case, we added a Section 3 to Article, I believe it's 3, which reads as, Clause A reads as, a vote of no confidence may be called to a quorum of council members to discuss the removal of a member from their leadership position. Any officer position is subject to a vote of no confidence. An informal discussion and debate may follow in order to evaluate the removal of a member from leadership duties in their title of officer. A 2/3 majority vote is required to remove a member from their leadership duties and title of officer. In the event of a member having their leadership duties relieved and the title for officer revoked, please see Article 3, Section 2 for reference, which is going over our duties of officer for the council.
Committee members? Councilman Baker, any questions?
Rader had his hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman, and really thank you for coming out and spending some time with us and sharing these changes. I think it's very healthy for a body like this to move and grow, and it really shows some initiative and leadership on your part. And thank you to your the great staff and the folks that are helping guide this, and continue to continue to keep iterating. Keep showing up, keep giving us changes if there are changes in the future. And I was just reading your purpose here in Article 1, which hasn't changed. You're to be an advocate. You're supposed to advocate for youth and to be a voice for the youth in your community. So continue to do that. I think you've already proposed legislation to this body, which we pretty much adopted without changing. So it shows you have some power. Make sure you continue to use it. Happy with these changes. I looked at them a few weeks ago. I'm just looking at them again. Again, they make plenty of sense. And last thing I'll say is I'm really encouraged by the fact that you included a section here for removal of leadership, not because there's a problem, but because you're looking towards the future. I think that's the reason we formed this body, and I see it taking shape here, even in these sort of more mundane things. But you're looking at the future. You're trying to project, and trying to protect for future generations that are going to come into these roles. So I just want to, again, thank you for your leadership. Keep up the great work. And I don't think I have any further thoughts. Happy to support these changes as written.
Thank you. Councilman Baker.
Yes, thank you, and to all of you, although the other two of you didn't give your name. Would you like to introduce yourselves and just for the record?
I'm Cora Barcelona.
And I'm Alessio Matera.
Thank you all. So I was actually this morning at Lakewood High for part of the communication class, and the seniors, I think, were networking, and I just constantly am so impressed with the young people in Lakewood. So thank you so much for your involvement. And as Councilman Rader said, you can no longer smoke or vape in public parks in Lakewood because of legislation that your council brought forward. So know that you always have a voice here. So please engage us, and not only in formal council meetings, but also reach out. Our contact information is all over the website. So we would love to be engaged more. Share Councilman Rader's thoughts about the changes. I'm a nerdy lawyer, so usually when I get on boards, they help me update. They have me help update bylaws, and these are the things I would have done. So congratulations. I think they're very good. I think they, kind of show a healthy organization and kind of create good guardrails and framework for you all to work. So I don't really have any questions because I think they look good, but I just want to thank you all for your service and say that I'm impressed.
Thank you. I, too, want to say I'm very impressed when I read over this. I was very impressed with how thoughtful you were about kind of delaying problems from occurring by being thoughtful for the future. So I really commend you for stepping forward and making a difference here in the city of Lakewood and being future leaders. Hopefully, you'll come back from college and move back into Lakewood and run for council. So you did great work. Keep it up. As Councilman Baker mentioned, I think that the legislation you brought forward that we passed for creating smoke-free parks was very forward-thinking, and we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you very much. So I'll look to move this to full council for a vote tonight.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? So that passes, and we'll vote on that tonight. Thank you again for being here. Thanks for the good work. Keep it up.
Thank you so much.
All right, next on the agenda is Lakewood Animal Safety Welfare Advisory Board, changes to the ordinance about barking and howling. Would those of you from El Swab who are present, would you like to come forward? Hello, ladies. Thanks for being here. Of course, I know I was at one of the meetings where this was discussed, and I know you gave a lot of very serious thought to the change in the ordinance to be supportive of the animal owners and the animals here in Lakewood. So would you like to share with the public and those of us on the committee what precipitated this action? Could you check if the mic is on?
There we go.
Okay.
It was the case on Waterbury Road where the man had 41 beagles in his house. A lot of people questioned whether we should have had a limit to the number of dogs in Lakewood. The mayor asked us to consider what would have helped prevent that. Obviously, we went through the idea of limiting a number of dogs. We went everywhere from 2 dogs to 12 dogs to dogs but no cats, and then how would this play out, and what about breeders, and what about fostering, and what if someone had 7 cats in a huge house and no one ever knew the difference? So, and then what would you do if someone did have too many dogs? Would you go choose one of their dogs and take it out of the home when there was no problem? So we kind of took 2 months to really work all of this out. We, Cindy, you know, we spoke to you, we spoke to all of the animal control officers, the shelter supervisor, we talked to the law department, and we talked to outside sources, and what we came up with was that we probably could just kind of strengthen the existing laws. The problem in this case was that they couldn't get, this person could just pay the tickets for noise violations. He had a long list of noise violations. He could just pay the tickets, never go to court, never speak to the law department. They finally got him on the noxious odors charge. That's the only reason that they could ever even engage him. So we talked to the law department about it and the animal control officers, and came up with an idea to just strengthen the barking violations so they're not standalone, and so that they could have scalable penalties. So, sorry, I just want to tell you exactly what it is. So the first 2 would be minor misdemeanors, and the third and every subsequent offense would be a 4th-degree misdemeanor. So they would have to engage with the law department or show up in court or something where you couldn't, Andy Fleck was explaining, you couldn't necessarily have an impact there, but you could engage the person, find out what's going on, have some kind of leverage with them. So this problem was that animal control officers kept going to this gentleman's house and they couldn't do anything about it. So this would just be sort of a way in. So we want to target the actual, you know, the offenses rather than just an arbitrary number of dogs. And we don't want to suggest that, you know, the mayor's office or city council has to defend a limit to dogs for people who have done nothing wrong. I don't know if there ever was a limit in Lakewood, but we haven't needed one until now, so it would be probably heavy-handed to tell everyone that they had to observe a limit.
And Erin, if I recall correctly, one of the problems was that the law enforcement can show up at the house about the barking, but they had no access to see the dogs, so they had no idea how many dogs this person had, correct?
Right, and he said that he had 15 when they did speak to him. So there was no way to get in there except if it wasn't for the noxious odors violation.
But this ordinance doesn't address that at all. They still have no recourse to seeing the animals, is that correct? So,
That is correct. I wish they did, but it's just
I mean, it's private
citizens
property, yeah.
don't have to let you in. So
Yeah.
this is the best we've got for trying to engage a person and see if there's a problem, or see if they will say, I'm in over my head, or whatever it is. And again, this is extremely rare. And even the animal control officers in Lakewood will tell you they have about 20 houses that are a problem, and that's it. You know, they're managing, you know, it's not like every other person is trying to get away with something, or people don't want more dogs than they can handle, and we don't want to limit the people who could take in an extra rescue dog if there weren't a limit and things like that. So we felt after discussing it at length and with everyone we could find that this would be a good approach rather than a limit.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on the committee have questions, comments? Councilman Baker, you look pensive, like you're thinking.
No, I thank you to the chair, and thank you to La Swab for, and I can appreciate the iterative process that you just explained, because that's often, how solutions are found, and rarely are people willing to go back to a reasonable kind of stance as opposed to like what's most punitive. And it's just encouraging to hear that you were thoughtful throughout that process to do that. One question I have, and this may be a larger question, and I'm sure you considered it, but I'm wondering if we could talk about it on the floor a little bit, is so understanding the criminal penalties for howling or excessive noise, and then maybe even noxious odors. But I wonder if there's a mechanism by which, if there's like reasonable grounds to think that an animal is being mistreated or malnourished, and it may already be in our code to that extent, because that's when I
Yes.
saw the beagle issue. So
There was no evidence that they could see. The only reason that they found out that the dogs were living in this situation and were filthy and all of this, overgrown nails, were not familiar with stepping on grass, that all happened because one animal control officer talked the gentleman into letting him see a couple of the dogs. He said, if you're not going to let me in the house, just let me see a couple of the dogs so I can see. Someone called and said they looked malnourished. So Kurt Bialowski, the animal control officer, went and said, let me just see a couple of them. So we brought him on the porch, and that was enough to see the situation. But he wasn't compelled to do that. The guy just didn't, he just wanted to prove his dogs had not been underfed. So he volunteered to bring them out. But otherwise, they wouldn't have had any way in.
Yeah, so I, understanding this ordinance now, is it basically, you make them come to court, you make them have a discussion with the prosecutor and the judge, and then you can get some sort of deferred prosecution agreement or something where they have to show evidence of compliance or other things. So I think it's a light touch, but I think it's the appropriate touch.
Thank you. And in addition, we do have, we wrote in our recommendation, there are a few other laws that could be used. You have to have evidence that a dog is being mistreated or malnourished or something to get the ability to go in. But there's a requirement that everyone in Lakewood have dog liability insurance of $10,000. And there are mandatory rabies vaccinations and mandatory county dog registration. So any one of those or all of those times 41 dogs would be probably enough to be annoying to someone if you wanted to go that route. So, but those are already on the books. So it would just be a matter of exercising those.
Thank you.
Councilman Rader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you all again. I miss you, but you're in great hands with Councilmember Marks. Did you get a chance to look at what other cities usually, I'm sure there's other processes cities have used. Was there any kind of review of what other cities have done in similar situations? Or is this so unique that it really required a kind of unique
Lakewood's
solution?
unique. Like, there are other cities, Fairview Park has a limit of 2, and I think they're just used to it. I don't, but I don't think, I think if everyone in Lakewood just said, oh, there's been a limit of 2 for 50 years, that's one thing. Going and telling everyone you can't have 3 dogs is another, so.
No, right,
I think it would cause more problems than solve.
Yeah, I'll echo my council colleagues' support of this, and I think it's the right incremental approach. And yeah, I would not support limiting animals to. Yeah, and there's other places in Lakewood that are much larger properties that could certainly host 5 or 6 animals comfortably, right? So this makes a lot of sense. So again, thank you for all your work to protect our animal community here as well as our human community. So very, very interconnected. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Keppel.
Thank you. And I can see that you want to speak too, so I'll send you back to the chair in a second, but I just wanted to thank you all so much for your work on this and for your extraordinary work with those 41 dogs. It's really kind of remarkable that we're sitting here asking citizens about, and and twice, because actually we just had the youth council up here who also gave us legislation essentially that we just said, okay, and we passed it. And now here we again have citizens bringing forward with so much feedback. And it's really remarkable, and it's really remarkable that you put this level of effort in for animals in our community. So I just want to thank you. So.
Thanks, Councilwoman. And I just want to speak to that, having been part of this conversation at your committee meetings, you all take this so seriously. We're so fortunate to have you sitting on the committee, looking after the best interests of the animals in Lakewood, because all of us who have pets love our pets. And you deliberated very thoughtfully, you asked great questions, you were very thoughtful about the people and the animals. So I love working with you all. You do a great job. We're lucky to have you. So keep at it. Would you like to share something with us?
I would. I'm Nancy Binder. I'm on Law Swab as well. I just want to add that, as Councilman Baker said, that this is a light touch. It is a bit of a change. However, the importance of this is that it's a tool. It's a tool for the AOCs. And they have the discretion to pull it out or not. However, without a tool, they were blocked from doing anything compassionate or helpful to the situation until the point of disaster is what I consider the situation. It's a rare occasion that they're going to even be in the position this will come up. Hopefully we're not going to have a Waterbury Beagle situation again, but it's a myth that lightning strikes twice. Doesn't strike twice, it does. And people have been hit twice in their life, which is like hitting the lottery big time, except for the wrong thing. And it is a tool that will help the AOCs have something that they can do so much sooner than they were able to do. So I hope you'll take that into consideration with your decision.
Thanks, Nancy. Kara, did you want to speak?
Hi, I'm Kara Blacklasher, and I'm no longer on LaSois, but I am the Vice President of the Citizens Committee for the Lakewood Animal Shelter. And Mayor George had asked if we could be involved in this deliberation as well. I just wanted to reiterate that this owner can be classified as a hoarder. And the definition of animal hoarding is how it differentiates from taking care of a large number of animals. It's not straightforward. What classifies a person as a hoarder isn't necessarily the number of animals one keeps, but rather whether or not they can provide for those animals. So that was one of the things that in deliberating on a pet limit, if you have 12 dogs and you're perfectly able to take care of them, and they're clean and healthy and maintained, but this man was a hoarder, and that was the problem. Animal hoarding is very difficult to prevent. I was a volunteer at the Animal Protective League for 10 years, and they deal exclusively with cruelty, a lot of animal hoarders. It's best addressed by holding the hoarder accountable, because it's just, they lack the mens rea to know that they are doing something wrong. This gentleman thought his animals were well cared for him. He went before the judge. He showed him, yeah, these animals are fine. So one of the things, as Aaron mentioned, we have tools on our books already that could have been used, and in my opinion, may have helped get this gentleman in front of the judge. The licensing requirement that we have at the county, that's a fourth-degree misdemeanor, not having a license. So that isn't a waiverable offense. They could have been, and if he had, animal control officers said they knew about 15 of the animals, you know, can you show me the licenses for those? That could have gotten him in front of the judge sooner. Rabies, show us your rabies, your rabies tags. That's a law that could have been enforced and gotten him. And the insurance, which we deliberated on this in 2018, and who counsel that might have been here know that I was vehemently opposed to putting that insurance law on the books. But it made it on the books, and that was a tool that this would have been the perfect instance to ask the gentleman to bring your insurance up. And that might have gotten him in front of the judge, in front of the law department. He could have seen that this man had some issues and maybe intervened a little sooner. So I appreciate Aaron did a fantastic job of researching and talking to everyone to make sure that, you know, the recommendation on pet limits wasn't their first line, like a knee-jerk reaction. And I just wanted to read a statement from Sharon Harvey, President and CEO, who I consulted with on this. And she said, while usually well-intended, there's no objective data that shows limiting the number of pets will curtail the situation. They are difficult to enforce, and it's quite likely that good, responsible, multi-pet owners will be negatively impacted, while owners in question find ways around getting caught and become more secretive. It just doesn't accomplish the goal. I thank you for your time.
Madam Chair, I have one question for Ms.
Yes, Councilman Rader.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chair. Thank you, again. I echo my thanks. Also, just a clarifying question, it might be a little bit of a tangent, but like the dog tag laws and the rabies tag laws, or rabies shots laws that require the tag, are those county ordinances?
They are state, they are county,
State.
and we also have them on our
Okay,
books.
that's what I was wondering. So we could cite for those
Yes.
under our own.
Under the
okay,
Lakewood
yeah, that makes sense.
ordinances,
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I was going to ask the same question. I know that those are on the books as far as insurance and rabies and registration with the county. When the ACOs go out, do they ask for any of that? I mean, is that their standard care?
No, I mean, if you just see a dog walking down the street, there's no reason it's like
Right.
pulling over somebody. But if their tail light is out and the police officer pulls them over, you ask for registration and insurance. If there's a barking complaint or a howling complaint or multiple ones, I think they're well within their rights to ask for, you know, can you show me your county licenses, show me your insurance? I mean, that's the reason for these. I mean, that's why they're on the books, I think.
Well, I would think that should be kind of the standard operating procedure when they go in if there's a complaint.
Right, if there's a complaint, yes,
Do
or a
the-
problem.
Have the officers stated why they don't do that? Or it's just never been a practice, so they're just not in the groove?
I'm not sure why they didn't in this case.
Well, that may be something that LSWAP can talk to them about and find out what their protocol is when they go out on a call for animals. I know myself, several people who lived on Waterbury near that house complained to me about the barking dogs, and they felt frustrated that nothing was being done about it. So I'm glad it came to an end, although surprising as it was in the middle of winter, coldest day of the year. But you all at LSWAB and all of you volunteers for animals really stepped up to the plate and did what you could to make sure that those animals were well protected, and you helped at the shelter. And I just want to commend you for a job well done. I was very impressed with your concern and your hard work to make sure that the animals were well taken care of. So good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Our organization is dedicated to the animals in
You
Lakewood.
really
and
are.
their welfare.
You all do a very great job, and I'm happy to be your council representative. So thank you so much for coming tonight. So I will move to I'm sorry.
Just one last comment, Mr. Chair, if you'll allow me, and it came to my mind. So Cleveland State is actually kicking off this next year an animal law clinic. So it'll be the first animal law clinic in the state of Ohio. So I think, Lakewood has a really developed animal welfare citizen engagement and community. So I think there may be a lot of kind of ways in which LSWAB and CLAWS and everyone else and the ACOs of the city could kind of coordinate with Cleveland State, because they may even have law students that are looking to kind of get into this field, so research and help out and kind of recommend things. So I would really encourage both the city and our nonprofit partners to look into that. I think, like I said, they just formed their kind of committee, and I think they're rolling it out next school year. So pretty interesting. And it's a jewel in Ohio to have it in Cleveland, so side tangent.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I think that the city of Lakewood could offer them a lot, from chickens to dogs and cats. So that may be something that you would all like to reach out to them about. And I'm sure that Councilman Baker can give you some contact information, because it would be great if you could work with them and reduce some of the fear around pets. And I think that would be great. And you all would have so much to offer. So thanks so much for coming tonight. So I will move to move this to council for a vote tonight. I want to refer it favorably to council.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Great, thank you very much. Thank you, ladies, for coming, and thank you, Mayor George, for really giving us your favorable consent to move forward on this. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. We will call now. I'm sorry? Oh, I will move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. I will close the meeting. Thank you.